All right, good afternoon, listeners. It's a wonderful afternoon here, and I'm sure you're having a beautiful day out there. This is a new week, and I want to wish you a wonderful new week. Hope your weekend was great last week, and hope you're happy that we're here again today to discuss on the Elite Show. Yes, this is the Elite Show, and we talk about leadership, and we're here to inspire every one of you about leadership and how you can be a perfect and good leader. Today, we have a wonderful guest in the house, and it's my pleasure to share with you. But before then, I would like my co host, my wonderful co host, to introduce herself. I just love the smile. Please.
Good afternoon, I'm Favor Igwe.
Yes, today I'm not just having one female, I'm having two. Oh my God. So, and guess what? Today is a special day for her, and I just had to bring her to the studio, to make her day more productive and more enjoyable. So, please, could you introduce yourself?
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Okechukwu Chinwe.
Oh, thank you very much, Chiwe. And my wonderful guest in the house, please, can you introduce yourself?
All right, good afternoon, everyone. My name is John Paul Ndie.
Yes, today we have John Paul in the house. John Paul is the project manager for Guru Innovation Hub. You must have heard of. He's the project manager for TEDx University of Calabar conference. He had done a lot in Cross River State. And John Paul won the 1 million naira grant from Leap Africa. So he's doing so much. He's doing so much in Cross River State, and we're so happy to have him on Grant today. Yes, we have a very interesting topic which most leaders run away from. But today we want to let you understand some certain things as a leader. And the big elephant is embracing the leader's failures, embracing the leader's failures, embracing the leader's failures. A lot of leaders do not accept their failures. They allow their failures to fail them in their journey. So, we would be doing this together, with my host, my co-host, and my guest, and Ugochukwu Chiwe in the house. But this time I will start with my wonderful guest in the house to tell us what it means to embrace, failures.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Life. Thank you very much, Michiku, and thank you very much, Favor. It's my pleasure to be here with you guys this afternoon. So, like you said, embracing um, leadership failure. So, what it means to embrace leadership failure. Ah, like you said earlier on, a lot of leaders don't accept failure, and the very truth about it is that um, the how will I put it, failing in leadership is less greater than how you deal with the failure in leadership. So if you fail, it's just it's just a little stone. So the main thing is how are you dealing with the failure. So now, like I said, a lot of leaders don't accept that they fail. So how to embrace failure is that one needs to be conscious. Needs to be conscious as a leader. You need to be conscious that okay, I have failed in this aspect and accept. It's accepting that you failed and look for ways that you can move forward. That's very important.
Okay, sir, thank you. Before I move to my co-host, I would like you to give us a background of what failure is. What does, when they hear the word failure, what comes to mind? Because a lot of people out there want to know what kind of failures are we talking about or what failure is. So could you give us a background of what failure means?
Okay, for me, I'll give you my own definition. Before I talk about failure, I need to talk about what success means. So for me, leadership success means that as a leader, for me, leadership success means that as a leader, um, you have a succession plan. So if you're a leader and you don't have a correct succession plan, you failed. So when I say leadership success, I'm like putting leadership failure at the same altogether. So leadership failure to me is not having the right succession plan. I don't know if you understand. Yeah.
Not having the right succession plan. Favor, could you elaborate on that, please?
Okay, so if I understood what he was trying to say, you know where we say a good leader is known by the quality of the person that succeeds him. So if you have not been able to put in the traits of a leader in the person that was following you, such that your absence is no longer felt as a result of the efficiency of this person, that means you have failed. So the first point of defining success is by the quality of the followers. So if your followers do not depict excellence, you have failed in your primary duty. Now our discussion is now going to take us to how do you embrace it? Because if you don't embrace it, you might never be able to move on. It's just like saying you're pained, or you have a knife cut. I love using this illustration a lot. If you don't accept that you have a knife cut, how then do you seek medications to see that these things stop aching?
All right. I would now go to Chinwe because in her journey so far as a crypto expert, I'm sure she must have encountered a lot of failures in the process based on what I hear about cryptocurrency and all the rest of it. So, could you share your story with us about failures?
Okay, thank you everyone.
Failing and embracing it.
All right, thank you so much
Yeah.
for this, question, impromptu question. For me personally, I think failure has to do with not trying again, just giving up entirely. Because one thing I've learned so far with cryptocurrency, failing a lot in cryptocurrency, is that when you give up entirely, that's the end. So regardless of whatever situation you're going through, regardless of whatever it is, whatever the problem is, always, always, always keep going. Just keep showing up. Every single day, keep showing up. And funny enough, personal, I've actually grown to like failing. I don't know if that makes sense, because every single time I have failed, it has led me to new opportunities. It has led me to understanding getting new insights on certain situations. So yeah, that's it. Failure is not trying again. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Let me just use this quote by Thomas Erickson. He said, "I have not failed. Have just found 10,000 ways that won't work."
Yeah, so if I could add something to that, um, just like you said, like Barack Obama, I think it was in 2002 or 2006 when when he contested for the election, I think as a state man council, then he failed. So if he had stopped at that particular time, he wouldn't have become the president of the United States. So, like she said, failure is not stopping. Yeah, you need to continue. Uh,
So failure, as we've established, is not stopping. Even if you failed 1 million times, just have this faith, this belief that let me just try again. Maybe the 1 million point 1 time, maybe that point one may be the one that will birth the success that we hope to have or hope to see. So why is it important for leaders to embrace failure? This goes to you, sir. Why is it important as a leader? Because we lead people every day, and people think that you being at the front line, you are already perfect. That you do not have that capability to fail. You don't have that tendency
like
of failing.
that word perfect you used, every leader has vulnerability. And as a leader, one thing you should understand is that you don't need to show the people that you are perfect because they can see it. It's glaring that you are not perfect. You are just a human being like each and every one of them, each and every one of your followers. So you don't need to show anybody that you are perfect. They know. So you need to They know because they see that vulnerability in you. So no one is perfect. So it's just how you embrace, how you lead, so to say. Um, oh, I want to say something. Just escaped my mind.
All right, so we'll help you. Favor, why is it important that leaders should embrace failures?
Okay, I'll pick up from where he stopped. Vulnerability is part of perfection. The perfect leader is one who understands that he has the right to feel a certain way about certain things. The only thing you're not permitted to do is leave the people without a solution.
Mm-hmm.
You are permitted to not know what to do at a certain time, but you are not permitted to stop trying to get solution, right? So, for context, we have established that you can always fail and try not to stop, no matter how many times you fail. However, we should learn to fail forward. The only time where
Yeah.
failure is beneficial is when we can pick up the lessons from our experiences. So if you put your hand in fire and it gets you burnt and you don't learn the lesson of getting burnt, then that experience was wasted. Because it's supposed to be that after you put your hand into fire and you get burnt, the next person by you should understand that fire is hot by virtue of your lessons. Your scar should be a part of your lesson. Also, I don't see failure as the opposite of success. I see it as a part of success. Because for something to have worked, it means you have gone through a process of trying out many times. And trying out means that some things did not work, right? So we have a lot of stories to look at when we want to discuss this. Failing as an event is not the same thing as failing as a process. So you can fail and that is it. You failed an exam, you dropped out. But if that is part of your journey to graduation, it's a process, it's not an end point.
Mm-hmm.
So this is why it is necessary to embrace failure. It's necessary to embrace failure because how are you expected to learn lessons if you don't? Success on a straight line is boring in a way. What stories do you want to tell? So we are able to avoid certain parts because we've had people go through that part and tell us, okay, don't go through this part. One of the things I was talking with a friend, a senior friend, and he said, Favor, one of the things I fear most is that the coming generation have nothing new to come and meet. These guys have failed in different ways. You should be thinking of new ways to fail so that the new people do not have to come and experience honestly. So that the new people do not have to come and go through that same route because you've gone through it. So your advantage to another person most times is the lessons of your failure that help them avoid that same failure. Meaning that you don't have to fail to learn. You can learn from the failures of another person. This is where your own failure becomes important because another person will also learn from your failure.
Wow. So, Chiwe, I'm sure you have something to add up to this
Honestly,
conversation.
I don't. She has said it all. I like the way she said feeling forward. That made a whole lot of sense because most of the time we all say we are brought up with the impression that when you fail, it's the end of the world. It's the end of everything. But if you try and change your perspective, because everything is all about your perception. Change your perspective, change your perception, and see it more like whenever you fail, you tell yourself, "Oh, okay, that means this process is not working. Let me try something else." And then you could use that opportunity to try and learn something
Fail
else.
fast.
Fail fast, exactly. Failing forward. I love the way she worded it. So that's it.
Okay, this quote from Harry Ford. He said, "The only real mistake is the one from which we learn nothing." Which we learn nothing. So, mistakes or failures were supposed to be a moment or lessons to learn from. Because in every journey, there must be failures. Like she said, success without failures are boring. Because what story?
Not every time. I like my friend says he loves me. Let me say it well.
inherited wealth. Wealth, it may not last because, the experiences you build over time, forms the bigger part of you. Those are the stories you can tell other people. Some people, their storyline alone is the legacy they leave for their generation. Yes, the story they left behind, the failures they had, and how they were able to overcome. Just like Eric said, Thomas Erickson, failed many times, you get, failed many times, try. Even the guy that gave us electric bulb, what's his name?
Edison.
No, not Erickson, the guy that gave us electric bulb,
Edison, not Edison.
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 right? Thomas Erickson, right?
No, not
Edison.
Edison.
Thomas Edison, right? That gave us the electric bulb. He failed several times trying to test run the process. You get, and today we're celebrating him. The story is now a story that people would spend thousands of dollars to buy how he was able to fail.
A reference material.
Yes, a reference material. So we just have to fail forward.
While I was growing up, my mom used to tell me, so anytime I encounter any failure, she would tell me, don't worry. The reason why you're failing at this particular time is because so that the story is going to be sweet.
Yeah.
Because if, like she said, if you're just going through, like if success is a straight line, there's no gallop on the way. If you don't face any gallop, you won't know how to, for instance, now if you become rich and you didn't like go through the process, you don't know how to manage the resources. You get.
I want to add to what you said. So coincidentally, we were having a discussion on a group I belong to, the Zero Up Academy. It's an NGO, a youth-led NGO, and we were studying about a guy who inherited $3 billion from his parents. We just said that sometimes if you do not fail, the story is not so interesting. But the story becomes interesting when you can learn from other people's failure, like we already said. So this man had a wealthy dad, a man that did his father recorded failures, of course, and that became his advantage because he did not have to go through the same route.
The same route.
Because the father has covered that journey. Now moving forward, what he did was be a student of his dad's mistakes and a student of his dad's successes. So that way, as much as the story might be boring, it's still interesting being that father died and left him an inheritance of 3 billion naira. And presently, according to our research, he's worth about 50 million, maybe $50 billion. So that means the lessons of the dad's failures, successes, and then his own experiences were able to help him grow the account from $3 billion to $50 billion. There was a process. We might have not heard of his own stories.
Yeah.
Of mistakes or failure, but the story is still interesting. I'm just trying to say that me, I like inherited wealth.
There's sometimes we hear stories. Stories that are boring. So the thing I've come to discover is that a lot of persons don't tell people about the little details. So like a lot of persons you see today, you think their story is just straight. They've actually failed. But it's because they are not telling you the little
People
details.
talk about their successes more than they
More
talk
than their
about.
failures.
Yeah. So that's one of the reasons why we're actually trying to do the leadership failure conference so that people will come tell us about how you failed. We don't want to hear. We've heard that you've built mansions, you've done all this. Tell us the ones that you didn't do. The
Like
ones
me, when I failed an exam, I can never tell you my grade. Let me just have A. I will ask everyone, what did you have in this course? Yeah, I had A.
Exactly.
But the one I have B, immediately just mention film. I'll get missing because I don't want to talk about how do I want to explain that I failed this course. What excuses do I want to give? So yeah, people talk about their success stories more than they talk about their stories of what did not work. It does not take out the fact that some things did not work.
But I've come to also discover that failure motivates people more than success stories. The
Really?
impact of your failure, yes.
Okay.
Like how if you fail and you pick up from the failure, it impacts people more than the success story. If
Even
just
you
come,
yourself, do you like that you're broke? That's enough motivation. It's still a story.
yeah.
All right,
But I'm
thank
not
you. Thank
The example where I said,
Thank you so much, y'all.
I
This
might be heartbroken, but I'm not broken.
okay.
defensive.
You go through defensive.
So this is your lead show on the on Unica Radio International 103.5 FM, and we are here to discuss on embracing the leaders' failures. And the aim of this discussion today is to let you understand that even when you fail, you shouldn't give up. Even when you fail, you should know that failure is just a step away from what you can achieve. Okay, so each time you fail, you should understand that you can get it right if you keep moving on. And we've established that, from the verse quotes that we've given out, that the moment you refuse to learn from those failures, then that's the biggest failure in life. You get so your failure is not a failure until you stop learning from those failures. So right now I'll be going back to you, wonderful guest in the house. Tell us a story of when you failed. But before you say that, I want to share my own story. In 2021, 22, I was given a campus directorship, a kind of a position to host one of the biggest entrepreneurship conference, in Calabar, and on Hot Price Foundation. Yeah, I failed. I couldn't do that because I lacked some skill sets to make that happen. I counted it as a failure to me because they gave me that position twice. I tried that twice and I failed. I couldn't execute those projects even after doing so much, but that project was not being executed. So I told myself that I was a failure. But I was able to bounce back. Why? Because I decided to take a bigger role again that is bigger than that one to test my ability and to learn from the mistakes and the failures I had in the previous years. Not being able to organize my team, not being able to communicate. I had to go and learn effectively how to communicate. And seriously, it's been impactful. So, sir, tell us the story of when and how you were able to overcome failures.
Okay, so I think I'll get to one similar to what you said now. Then the other one just it's recently. I think that was close to the end of last year. So like you said, you you failed with Millennium Fellowship, right? Okay, Hot Prize.
Hot price, yeah.
All right, so I I was also part of Hot Prize, but I failed in TEDx. In 2021, I got 2020, yes, I got TEDx license for University of Cross River State, which was formerly Tech. So the event didn't hold, which and the license lasted for 2 years. The event didn't hold for the 2 years, so I failed to hold the event. One, I failed because I was in Protech, I think, and I think there was no resources, so I didn't know how to like gather people. I was in the develop. I've been in development space now. I think this is going to be my 8 years in development space. I was in development space at that time, but I've not like I just came into Calabar. I've not gathered people. I don't have a youth community where I can just see people. So that was one of the challenge, and I never knew how to network with people. I always sat like anytime I attend event, I would just sit down because I had this mentor that didn't mentor me well at that particular time.
The problem I can be before.
uh, no, we're always going to events. The guy was very popular. We're always going to events, and when we go there, the guy will just introduce me like he will raise me very high. Oh, and people will start referencing me somehow. So I was not able to like converse with people at my level, at the level at which I was, so that I could like
Learn.
learn from them because of the way he has already raised my name and all that. So for the 2 years that the license lasted, I didn't host the TEDx um, event. So, but later on, that was why I had to like say this particular year I was part of Unica TEDx to make it a success. And also last year I applied for a program Y Labs. I was supposed to go to the US. Like the program was awesome, so they didn't pick me, and I was like, my mental health was like I almost died. Let me use that word because like I thought that program was for me, so like it didn't come, so I was shocked. Why wouldn't you pick me? I had to send an email to them. Like the email was rude because I explained why didn't you pick me. So like they responded to me back. They explained that okay they had um they can only pick 10 people and they had about 4,000 application all over the world. So that was when I calmed down a little bit. And in that process, another stuff I applied for came through, which wiped my tears away. Let me put it that way. So I came to understand that some things are not for you because one of the things I applied for. So I sent an email to them telling them that that one was overqualified. I told them that they're going to invite me for the next program since they didn't pick me for this particular one. So I came to understand that sometimes I might not be qualified for those programs. So you have to work on yourself. You don't have to. And when I was saying my mental health was down, I don't have to like feel that way. I need to understand that this program was not at this particular time is not for me, or at this particular time I'm bigger than this program, and I have to work on myself and hope for the next opportunity so that I can do more.
All right, thank you so much. Favor, could you share some stories with us?
Okay. I don't think I have a story to share. Okay. I failed a good number of times. I'm still a small girl, Shas. Some people have been in development space for 8 years. What do you want me to tell you now? Okay, I would make reference to my secondary school. Um I battled a lot with self esteem, and then somehow I became the house captain of my hostel. My first few months I was all enthusiastic and delivering on duty and all of that. But over time I started being less of what I used to be. And I think my house mistress noticed it. She called me out to it, but I did not really like the word she used. She told me, Favor, I am disappointed in you. For me, that does not like people using words like that on me. I equally don't use it on people. I always look for the best way to communicate my anger without getting to hurt your esteem, because I understand what low esteem can do to a person. No matter how smart you are, you will never come out with what you know, because first you don't believe in yourself enough to come out. So being that this experience has taught me, I really hate it when I can be very defensive when I even find out you're using demeaning words. I hate it so much. So my house just told me she was disappointed in me, and God, I cried that night. I would never forget it, because I cried. I left the hostel. I said I was going to. What did I not do? Wrote resignation later that I'm not serving again. But then I had to call myself. For most of these statements, there are level of truth in them. So if she is disappointed, it means in a way she had a higher view of me. That means I have fallen short of it, meaning I failed. So do I allow her to keep being disappointed, or I would stand up to my task as the captain of the hostel? Because I had an assistant, but she did not tell my assistant that she's disappointed. And this was me that was carrying majority of the work, and then you are disappointed. Hello, ma. Are you sick? Ma, please, I just hope you don't see this anytime. Okay. So I got to learn that leadership, as much as emotions is part of what you do, but most times you have to separate how you feel from what you have to do. So that was the lesson that that level of failure taught me. And moving forward, I was more careful about living up to expectations. So I know that I've taken the bar to this point when it concerns me. I will try so much not to fall short of it. So I think that's my story of failure. I have other stories, but they are a bit more personal than I want to share.
All right, I understand, Favor. Okay, these are your lead show on Unica Radio International 103.5 FM. If you want to be a part of this conversation, you can reach us on 0906 98889. 0906 98889. We would want to hear from you, your perspective, your view about failure, and maybe your story of how you failed and how you were able to overcome failures. Okay, Chui, could you tell us a story of how you failed and how you effectively embrace it?
Okay, this is going to be quite, a long one, a lengthy one. Okay, but a very peculiar story I can remember is while I was in school, university. I'm a core member, by the way. I'm serving currently. So, I was into cryptocurrency. I entered cryptocurrency at 2019, 2019, 2020. That was like at the peak of the bull run. And then I was like in my third year, I think second year, third year. So because of that, because of the whole craze of, I mean, if you've been into cryptocurrency, that it has a way of affecting your psyche. When you touch small money, your head now explodes. You're like, oh my god, you're at the top of the world. So I kicked school out of the way. I stopped coming to classes. I stopped attending lectures. I stopped doing a lot of things. And funny enough, the people that were my mentors then in crypto, they used to tell me, say, Chinwe, come, let me tell you something. Find a way to balance effective schooling and your side hustle. Don't let this thing get into your head. What I did, you couldn't tell me nothing. I was on top of the world. I felt like I was everything, even though I had literally nothing, because I was still a child then. What did I even know? But then over time, the bear season happened. If you're into cryptocurrency, that just simply means, everything went down,
Like deep.
deep down, yeah. There was a very massive bear season, and I ignored risk management strategies. I ignored all the people that were trying to mentor me out of that situation. I failed woefully in school. I even had an extra year because of that. My supervisor then called me. She was like, Chima, I'm so disappointed. Well, just take a look at all of this. So I was literally at my bottom barrel. I felt like this is the end. I have no money. I have no degree. What the hell do I have? There's no way I'm going back to my parents' house like this. But at some point, I think I was listening to a podcast. I can't remember the exact name now, but it was a podcast on Spotify. And then the person was saying something like, something relating to this, learn from your failures, whatever it is you're going through, you can always bounce back from it, you bounce back stronger. And I had to just use that as a way to hold myself. I revisited my courses, I had to write my exams and pick myself up, basically. So yeah, that's it.
Amazing.
That's part of it.
Okay, wow, 3.5 FM, Unicorn Radio International, you lead show. We would come back as we're going on a very short break at this moment. Thank you. All right, thank you so much, our wonderful listeners out there. Hope you're having a wonderful afternoon. Please, we know the weather is too hot, so you could take some drinks to calm your nerve. Okay, so this is Unico Radio International 103.5 FM, your lead show. Do not forget, we are here to enlighten you about leadership. We want to let you understand what leadership is all about and how you can navigate as a student, as a youth, and as a person. Because a lot of people find it hard to navigate through a lot of things as leaders. So the Elite Show is here to help you through, to help you bounce back from whatever you've gone through. So today, I have in the house my wonderful guest, John Paul, my co-hosts, Favor Igwe, and another beautiful damsel in the house, Chinwe Ogochukwu. And guess what? Today is her birthday, and I would want you to call in to wish her happy birthday for us. So, we've been discussing ever since about embracing the leaders' failures, and we've established a lot here about what embracing leadership failures means. And now we would go straight to the point because we don't have much time again. And my wonderful guest, please can you tell us, is failure really a death sentence? Because a lot of students had committed suicide because they failed three courses, because they failed their first semester courses, and some other things. Most of them, last year we heard a lot about suicide on campus, because of maybe one depression or the other, or they couldn't cope with the academic stress and so on. So is failure a death sentence?
Failure is not a death sentence. So one thing no leader likes to acknowledge is that they failed. No leader wants to be a failure. Nobody wants, not even a leader, nobody wants to be a failure. Nobody wants to agree or accept that he or she has failed. Everybody, if the person fails, the person say it's a little mistake. They call it little mistake. But one thing you need to do is that after you fail, one thing you need to do that is very important, you need to agree that you have failed. Because once you agree that you failed, then you look for ways to overcome those failures. You understand? Look for ways to overcome those failures. You need to write down the mistakes, the places where you think the things you did wrong that made you fail. You need to write them down. Like me, when I was talking about the TEDx now, when I failed at that particular point because I didn't have the skill, I didn't have the resources, and all that. So if it were another person, the person would have still applied again without developing himself. So I had to go back, develop myself, do some other thing, gain some knowledge before moving forward. So one thing we have to do is to acknowledge that we failed, write down our mistakes, and look for ways to overcome those mistakes moving forward.
Amazing. Before my co-host will say something, I would want to quote Churchill. He says, "Success is stumbling from failure to failure with no loss of enthusiasm." Meaning, a lot of people, when they fail once, it occurs to them that they've lost the whole world, that the world is gone, that their life is gone. But Churchill is saying success is stumbling from one failure to another with no loss of enthusiasm. That is, if your energy was 50% when you failed, you should have about 60% to move on, enthusiasm to move on, instead of falling to like 20%. Because if your energy, if your enthusiasm falls by below the percentage you had when you failed, it means you will keep failing without learning. You won't be able to embrace that, or acknowledge that I have made a mistake or I have failed. So, Favor, could you?
Okay, so I would just say that failure is a proof and an evidence of having tried. So it cannot be a death sentence. If you begin to see it as a death sentence, you are abusing the reason for which you tried out in the first place. So failure is basically saying, okay, I tried, but this method was not just efficient. The funny thing about failing is that the method could have been right, but your application of that method wasn't right. So failure is not a death sentence. Failure is the beginning to actually seeing things for what they are. Because sometimes we fail because of an overly high expectation. Let me Permit me to dive into the business world a bit. So you're starting a business, and for business people, they understand what a roadmap for a business is. Writing your roadmap, you will see it as something that will be so easy. It's very easy to write out. In this phase of my business, I will make adverts, I'll do this, I'll do that, I'll do this. But when it comes to carrying out these very things, that's when you understand that it's easier said written than done. So by the time you write it like that, you're like, in 1 year when my business will be, nobody will see my back. But in the real sense, business takes patience to build. Beyond capital, even if with a very large capital, there are certain things that has to be in place, and some of these things takes time. Like the one of the very core factors of business is the KLT factor. They know, like, and trust. People buy from who they know, they like, and get to trust. So getting them to know you might be easy. You're running ads, so 1,000 people know you. Out of that 1,000 people, how many of them will like your product or your services? Let's say 800. Now from that 800, you will have to put in work with time to gain trust. This is where you can now call these people customers, because they will start coming in over and over and over, because they become it's that's why you call it customer. Now, most people fail in their first year of business because they do not see the results they envisioned, not because the result is not possible. So this is saying that sometimes, in short, their roadmap might have been the right roadmap. So they are not failing because failure is their identity. They failed because they could not stay enough to see the results of what they are doing. They could not stay enough to see what the seed they have planted grow. It's just like cutting down a mango tree that has already stood tall because it has not borne fruit. When you can leave it for maybe an extra year, you start seeing the fruit. But impatient, you cut it down. You've literally ended something that would have brought out beautiful fruit. So failure is just saying, I can do more. I've come to this point. What can I do differently?
What can I
So
do
it's not a
differently?
death sentence.
Yeah, what can I do differently? Okay, Chiwe, what would you want to say in that regard?
Honestly, she said it all. There's really not much to say, but I think a very key way of embracing failure is to understand that regardless of whatever the situation, just bounce back. Bounce back. That's it. Just bounce back. You can just keep showing up. Today you give up 1%, tomorrow 0.5%, next tomorrow 2%. Just keep showing up. That's it.
Just keep showing up. Just instead of giving up, just show up.
Just show
Ah,
up. It doesn't matter how
It's
you know.
important to show.
Yeah, you don't have to be effective when you're showing up.
Just show up. In the process of showing up, you may gain energy and you get
it's
stability,
in showing up that people even see your interest enough to
interest
help
to
you.
help
So
you.
it's like you're drowning, and instead of taking out your
Your
hand to seek
hands
for help, you just
went
want to
down.
stay.
Exactly.
So if you take your hand out, it's saying, I'm not giving up, I'm showing up.
Oh wow, I like that.
Wow,
Showing up
wow.
is very important because like, one of my friend is currently in London. So he applied for a scholarship. This is somebody who helps people write SOPs and like their SOP scale. They get the scholarship, but he was not getting any scholarship. Like everybody was surprised. You have the experience, you have everything. Why are you not getting a scholarship? But the guy was adamant, like he needed one particular school to give him the scholarship. So he kept showing up. He applied again. He applied again for the fourth time. So when he went for the interview in Abuja, the person that was interviewing was like, I've been seeing your application for the last 4 years. That he just loved the way he was like he never stopped showing
Yeah.
up. So he kept showing up. So the interview was not even that like rigorous. So when the man just saw him, the man was like, this particular one, you've gotten it
The
already.
consistency
Imagine he
alone.
stopped at 3.
At
Yeah.
3. Imagine.
So for every time you feel like failing, ask yourself, what if I win on my next try?
Exactly. I love that.
And just imagine the thousands of successes that have been buried because of stopping at 3.
Like when I wrote my Leap Africa grant, the first one we partook in, I was like, I don't like these team members. They can't put in the
They
kind
can
of
put in
work
the
I
yeah.
want. Let me just leave it. But at the end of it, the project that we did became like one of the best projects. The program officer, when she came to our hall, she was like, you need to apply for the next one.
The next
And
one.
even when I applied for the next one, I was just woke up 1 midnight. I was like, Mo, this thing is too rigorous. For how much? I wanted to just, for free work that I want to impact people, I wanted to just close it down. My mind said, go on. And I went on, and at the end of it, I was not even expecting that my application would like
Was get through.
scale
So
through.
instead of making conclusions or concluding on a matter as being failed, watch to see the end.
Yeah.
And most times the end is actually not failure.
Yeah.
The process was just failure.
Was just yeah. Thank you, thank you so much. Seriously, this is amazing. So, lastly, how can leaders strike a balance between learning from failure and avoiding repeated mistakes? Because the truth is, a lot of people had settled for failure. They love failing. They feel that, oh, well, let me just be comfortable here. That they've created that sense of comfort in their feeling. So, how can leaders strike a balance between you learning from this, like you failed today, you learning from this failure today, and moving forward to something bigger?
So, like I said earlier, my mom used to tell me that particular statement. I said my mom used to tell me when I was little. So, I got to a point where that particular statement started affecting me because I was thinking every time I fail, it's good that I'm moving forward. But no, you need to understand that if you fail the first time, you need to look for, like she said, it might not be the things it might be the methodology you used. So you need to like search, you need to know the correct thing that has made you fail, and you need to pick up new energy. Like I work with one organization remotely. So they were failing in the communication part of that organization. Like every time people were always complaining, there's no communication in this team, this, and we're not being productive because of the lack of communication from that communications team. So what we did was that we brought in a new fellow, that's a new person to the communications team. She brought in new energy, like she brought in new passion, new energy, and the thing with that girl was that even people on the team were trying to like discourage her, telling her that just come, you're doing this, you're doing that, you won't scale through. But she kept on pushing forward, and last month, that particular team won the energy that she put in. She came, she observed, she had to like check, okay, this is what we are not doing right. This is how we are going to move forward. This and this, we are going to move forward. The same thing in business. If you're doing a business, getting your customers, you need to know, like somebody told me a story how he invested 2 million naira, and the total, like after investing 2 million naira in that business, the total money he got out of the business was 40,000 naira. And that happened in Calabar some few years ago. Invested 2 million naira and he got out 40,000 naira. So he was like, what did I do wrong that made me got 40,000 naira? Not like 40,000 naira, like after investing, the business is down, but it was only 40,000 naira that he got from the business. So he was like, what did I do wrong? So he brought in a product manager. So they had to like check the market and check everything, check the reasons why he actually failed. That business is not scalable here in Calabar. Like the business is not, at that particular place they were doing the business was not scalable. So they had to okay this, and they move forward. Now they are doing the business somewhere else in another city, and like the business is
It's
booming
booming.
massively because he understood this was the place I was making my mistake, and he had to move forward.
So, favor.
Okay, so I will be talking from 2 points about how to avoid repeated mistakes and all that. I was talking with Miss
Chinwe.
Chinwe,
Yes.
just wanted to be sure. Before we came in, and she made a statement. I'm sure she thought I forgot. She said, um, growing in, because we're having a conversation about cryptocurrency and crypto space and forex space. She said, growing your strategy as a forex trader is being self-aware. That is, to avoid repeated mistakes, you have to be self-aware. She made a statement that you don't blame the market for failing. You blame what you did not know for
Yeah.
failing, right? So I'm still going to take my points out of that statement. So the same thing that you're doing that is not working for you is working for another
Another
person.
person.
Yeah.
What does that person know? So that means failure is linked to what you don't know. So instead of sitting down to say it's the end of the road, what don't I know? Find your answer, you found the solution. Success is next. And then we have to understand the balance of patience and impatience. While patience can be a virtue, impatience can be a virtue. It's having fair share of both. Having a fair share or fair distribution of both. Let me explain before some people come for me. So you cannot be patient inside a burning furnace. You would, before you come out, you come out a dead human. Patience dog don't slim finish. No fine bone. You know when we say the patient dog eats the fattest bone, sometimes the last bone was the fattest bone. It's not that one for the patient dog. So while you're being patient about certain things, there should be a sense of urgency. You don't have all the time in the world. You cannot fail 300 times for something that the lessons came at your fourth time of failing.
You didn't pick it.
So that means the other times you failed are irrelevant. The most important point of your journey was the fourth time you failed, because that was where the lesson lied. So at that point, you will blame yourself for not being self-aware to pick the lesson. But there you are saying you are patiently waiting to get it right. Seriously. If you were impatient, you would have picked your lesson at that fourth trial, because you said don't tire. But if you're too patient, it's like what you said earlier. You said some of us are too comfortable failing. You know this statement that they say that sometimes when God is taking you through plenty things, it's not like you'll be rich tomorrow. True. Sometimes you are not going to be rich, my sister. If you don't find a way out of poverty, now you and poverty will live in the same house. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much. So, just to cap up what you've said with this quote, the only way to succeed is to fail faster.
Yeah.
It's by Brain, Sergey Brain. This is a quote. The only way you can succeed is to fail faster. You have to fail fast and learn very fast, because the world is on a fast lane, fast track.
So fast that if you're not moving forward, you're moving backward.
You're moving backward.
automatically.
You're moving backwards. So fail forward, like my co-host has established. Always try to fail forward. By failing forward means that once you fail, learn and keep moving. Fail, learn, you keep moving.
Ask yourself, what did I do wrong?
What did I do wrong? So over to you. Over to you.
Yeah. No, you guys have said it all, honestly. You guys have all said it all. I just want to just add up. Whenever you fail, always be introspective. Ask yourself, what did I do wrong? That's the first step.
Not who do me.
Exactly. Don't blame anyone. Even if external factors play a role,
Yeah.
always ask yourself first,
Yeah.
what did I do wrong? What did I miss? What didn't I see? It will help you to alleviate a lot of problems, because by the time you ask yourself, 9 times out of 10, if you're really honest with yourself and you have accountability, you would find the solution to your problems.
Sometimes
So that you figure the next failure is a different issue. You ask yourself again until
You get
you
there.
get there.
Yeah.
So you move forward.
You
You
keep
fail
moving
forward.
forward,
I
yeah.
love that word you fail. So
Yes.
fail forward.
Last year was it around November, December when I was applying for the TEDx conference, University of Calabar. My application came through, and they asked me to give back what I've written, like the first application. And do you know what? I couldn't remember where I wrote down the write-ups I did, and they denied my application. You get so I was like, what kind of stress is this? Because I took a lot of time to put in the application, but now I couldn't remember anything that I applied for. So they had to deny my application.
the next time you keep your first copy.
Seriously, I
Very,
had
very
to
important.
I had to reapply again and saved my document on Google Doc.
So you've actually learned from your
Yes,
first
I learned
mistake.
from my first mistake.
You will not know what does not work until you carry out something that does not work.
So, guys, this is 3.5 FM Unicorn Radio International on the Elite Show, and we are so happy and so delighted. But before we leave, I want my guest and my co-host around to just say one or two things before we end the show today. So what's the advice of the people out there who are already, they're already in the river of failures? They're already swimming in failures.
Right. So for those
How do
out
they
there
come out?
who are comfortable with failure, the best thing, like my best advice for you at this moment is that you take action. You stand up and you move forward.
Stand up and
You
move.
don't remain stagnant in that particular point. So you have to stand up and move forward. We've already said, I don't want to say know your mistakes again because we've been peddling on that since. So you have to know your mistakes, stand up and move forward. Nobody's going to come and draw you out.
Thank you, Chui. What would you have to advise the people out there?
Okay, my advice for you is no one is going to come and help you. No one's going to come and save you. It's you against the person you see in the mirror. You're your biggest competition. Yeah, so just show up for yourself. That's it.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so my advice for you is seek help.
Yeah.
You don't have to be the hero in your story.
Mm-hmm.
People have gone through the path you're going through. You could learn from their mistakes. You could learn from their errors. And even when you're being faced with your errors, a good mentor is one that would understand your story, pick out the lessons you could not see from them, and help you to advance. Because let's assume you came up with a business idea or a business plan. It already has potentials for failure. Now, discussing with a mentor or a senior friend will open you up to the vastness of what you're about to do. That way, you know that it's not going to be easy, but you also know you have someone to run to. It's easier that way. Statistics have it that children that comes from homes where their parents might not support them financially, but believe in them enough to listen to them, perform better than others. This is because you have someone to speak to when you have little inconveniences, and sometimes they are better. Most times they are better than the financial support you could get. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, and please stop committing suicide out there. See you on Tuesday next week. Same station, 103.5 FM Unicorn Radio International. Thank you.